Hello, welcome to TGIF. Thank God it is Friday. Please tag people, please share this video, let people know that we are online, live, and waiting on them. Thank you. We're just going to give them just a few more minutes. Happy TGIF. Thanks so much for joining, Damon. Haven't talked to you in a while. Hope you're taking care of my Chelsea. Hey, Rick. Welcome, welcome. Please tag people. I love it when people join. It just is so encouraging to me. I'm learning right along with you all. So please tag people, share the video, and we'll get started in just a few minutes. Hi, Erica. Hey, Janet. What's up, Ken? Come on in to TGIF, and we're going to get started. So, today the topic is the giants do fall, and they will fall, and you will be king. You will be king. And today's story is from, the story of David, which David is one of our favorite persons in the Bible for a lot of people. He lived a very rich life, very hard, rough life, but most of all, he truly demonstrated how to have a relationship with God. And from that relationship is where he ascended to the throne. So even as a young boy, David was anointed king as a young, ruddy boy over all of his brothers. But that was when he was a young boy. He really actually did not get to be king until much later. Because once God pronounces a word over you, then you on your way down. It is time to start the process. And so for the story of David, he was a young, ruddy boy. He kept his father's sheep. He was out in the field a lot, not really with his brothers. But out in the field is where he learned to fight and was able to kill the bear and the tiger, and the lion, all by himself as a young, ruddy boy. So he was taught battle by the Lord, and out there is where he worshiped God and where he just spent a lot of intimate time from him. And so whenever you spend a lot of time with someone, as you know, in the natural, you get to know them, you get to know what they like, what they don't like, and you tend to do more things that they like. And so David was a worshiper. Not that he didn't make errors, because of course, out of all the good things he did, people know him for Bathsheba, Uriah's wife, and the scandal. But his life, that just goes to show you that he was human. That's all. And that God is a forgiving God and still will bring fruit from those things. He will do Romans 8:28. And all things work together for the good, for those who love God and for those who are called according to his purpose. So in David's life, yes, he had his fair share of mistakes, but he still became king. He still walked in the destiny that God spoke over him from the beginning. And so today, as a matter of fact, today it was so crazy. It's like everything that could happen almost happened, and I didn't even know if I was going to be able to come live today. A circuit breaker just clicked off, and this system was saying I didn't have internet, and just my iPad, the screen was frozen. I couldn't get that to work right, and I was like, wait a minute, what is this? Because I am on my way to my destiny. And so and God is so perfect, because it's that perfectly aligned with the frustration and the things that I went through this morning to get here to TGIF is a perfect illustration of what goes in our lives on our way to our destiny. So let me just take you over to 2 Samuel 5th chapter. And please do share this video. Please let people know I'm online. I won't be here long. And we'll move forward. So 2 Samuel 5th chapter. And so you can read before this to kind of fill in, you know, what happens up to this point. But David at this point is king of Judah, the tribe of Judah only. And he is reigning over Judah in Hebron. And so Saul and his sons were just killed in battle. And so then everybody knew, you know, the rumor, everybody knew that David was next in line. And everybody knew that he had been anointed as king as a boy. And so here it is, you know, David is on his way ascending to the throne according to the destiny and purpose that God has for him. But here come the giants. Here come the Philistines. And as you know, the Goliath was from the people of the Philistines, and they were traditionally known as to be giants in the land. And so here come the Philistines. And so it is in our life. As soon as we are on our way to our destiny, here come the Philistines. Here come the Hittites. Here come the backbites, the gossip nights, and the shame of last night. Here come all the giants that are historically plaguing us, you know, through this journey and through this process. And, you know, you just say, can I ever just get somewhere simple without the gossipites working on my last nerve? And so David, so here comes the Philistines. And so what I love about it is through David's relationship with the Lord. Remember, when you have a relationship with someone, you don't just do something, you talk to them about it. And especially if they know more about the situation than you, then out of respect, you talk to them about it. So I love this where David then, and we're in 2 Samuel 5th chapter, where David inquired of the Lord, saying, shall I go up against the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hand? And the Lord said to David, go up, for I will surely deliver them into your hand. And again, this week, I am in the Amplified version. And so David goes out, just to fast forward, David goes out, they defeat the Philistines. Because the Lord had already said, I'll give them to you, I'll put them in your hands, go on out. And then the Philistines, what I love here, in verse 21, it says, because the Philistines went out to fight, there the Philistines left their images. There the Philistines left their images. And to me, that just really rang out in my spirit. It just spoke to me that when those giants come up against you, they have images of themselves in your life. And sometimes you have images of them. But guess what? All of those images are dropped right there on the battleground. Right there on the battleground where God is giving David and is giving you the victory. So then, you know, bullies always come back. They want a second round because they got something to prove. So we go on down to verse 22 where it says, the Philistines came up again and spread themselves out in the valley of Rephaim. When David inquired of the Lord, he said, when David inquired of the Lord, I love that. That's key. Because when we're going through this process and we're ascending to the throne, we're ascending to the destiny that God has for us. We're ascending to, you know, the new job, to new love in our lives, to better relationships. Whatever that throne is, whenever you're ascending, the enemy does come out. And when you defeat him, he'll come out again. He'll try you again to see if he can bluff you and talk you down. So, but what I love about this is David did not go forth in arrogance and overconfident that, yeah, I know the Lord. That's what's up. I know the Lord. You know, he told me how to beat them. I'll just go on out there again today and he's going to put them into my hands. He did not assume that the Lord was going to use the same strategy as he did the other day when he gave him the victory. And in like manner, we have to do that same thing. We can't always assume for every problem God is going to do it the same way. We cannot put God in a box. And this story in 2 Samuel 5th chapter is a perfect example of that. Because when David inquired of the Lord a second time about the Philistines, it says in verse 23, when David inquired of the Lord, he said, talking about the Lord, you shall not go up, but you go around behind them and come upon them over opposite the mulberry trees. And when you hear the sound of marching, oh, I love that. Because the Lord always has a host encamped round about us to protect us. But because we're in the natural, we're not always conscious of that. Or because we can't see it with our natural eyes, we're not always conscious of that. But be conscious that the Lord has angels encamped round about you, and they're there to protect you. You don't have to do it all. The battle, this sounds so cliche, but the battle is not yours. It is the Lord's. But sometimes we get in the way and we think we can fix it. I'm talking to you because I'm talking to me. We get in the way and think we can fix it, but we only have to stop and get into a moment of silence, a mode of worship, and ask the Lord again, what is my strategy for today? What is my strategy for today? So in verse 23, and I'm recapping, when David inquired of the Lord, he said, you shall not go up. When you hear marching in the tops of the mulberry trees, then bestir yourselves, for then has the Lord gone out before you to smite the army of the Philistines. So the Lord, I love it. I love it because when I think of the Lord, I think of love. I think of comfort. I think of covering. But I'm going to tell you something. In this life, I think of him as such an awesome strategist. And every time I come upon issues in my life, I instantly now just say, Lord, what's the strategy? I don't have the answer without you. What is the strategy, Lord? And here he gave David the strategy. He said, position yourself. You've got to reposition yourself in situations. Every situation, you're not going to be standing in the same place, doing the same thing, using the same weapons, because they're not always going to work. They played out. Better get some new weapons. And the only way you can do that is ask the Lord. Ask the Lord for the strategy. So the Lord gave them the strategy, and I love it, to go around them and then wait. See, that's the hard part for a lot of us, because we're in the age of instant gratification, like microwave, and get your gourmet meal. But that's not always how it happens with the Lord. Sometimes we have to wait. Sometimes that wait is a minute. Sometimes it's years. Because remember, David was anointed king as a ruddy young boy, but he ain't on the throne yet. So we have to ask the Lord for a strategy every day. Don't assume you know the answer, ever. Always ask the Lord, Lord, what's the strategy? What's up? What's up? What's up, Lord? What's the strategy? And just wait, like David did. And the Lord said, when he waited till he heard the rustling in the top of the mulberry trees, he went out against the Philistines, and the Lord gave them giants, gave them, keep it clean, gave them rascals into the hands of David, and he defeated his enemy. And so in like manner, I encourage you today here at TGIF, ask the Lord for the strategy. Because whenever God has anointed, and he has anointed and appointed you, you are unique. You are wonderfully and fearfully made of God. He has a destiny for you. He has works for you, but it's just getting through that process. And those Philistines, those giants that'll come out against us, the Gossipites, the Hittites, and the shame of what I did last night, all of those giants come out against us. And we have to, because they come out just like when David went out against Goliath, those giants come out against us to defy our God and to defy and test our faith in our God. And so we must gird up our loins and show ourselves strong, put on the whole armor of God. And so once David defeated those Philistines that second time, guess what? He was on his way to the throne, because the tribe was, as I said earlier, the tribe was split back in the day. So initially he was king just over Judah. And so Saul was king over the rest of Israel. But once Saul, had died and all of that, and David defeated those Philistines, then the elders of Israel came to David and, made a covenant with David. and anointed him king over all of Israel. Talk about getting the victory, because you are destined to get it. You just got to ask God for the strategy. And so, whereas David ruled over Judah for 7 years, I think 7.5 years, in Hebron, he was then anointed king over all of Israel and Judah, and then sat on the throne in Jerusalem. Oh my gracious. So be encouraged. You are going to be king. You are going to be exactly what God has told you in your dreams, in your thoughts, in your spirit. That thing that keeps bubbling up, that idea, that entrepreneurship idea, just everything keeps bubbling up, but it's overwhelming to you right now. Because you say, Lord, how do I get there? How do I get from being a ruddy young boy or a young girl in, in the field with the shepherds to the throne? Because it is a process. But we must hold on to God, keep our faith in God, and when we encounter difficulties, we ask him for the strategy. I encourage you to stay in a place of worship and take this with you, as I say every week. Please, pretty please, do not build a monument at your mistakes. Do not build a monument at your mistakes. Forgive yourself, forgive others, and keep it moving in Jesus. Happy TGIF!